Okay, hello everyone. My name is Mikko Roine from YIT. I work in the YIT Information Services as a solution architect, and I've been working there for a couple of years now. My main approach into this presentation is how do we see the Sitefinity role. What is the role of Sitefinity in our online development, like the current condition of it, and a little bit looking back at the journey, because we have been like somewhat the only enterprise level customers or Sitefinity users in Finland for some time. I know that there are others at the moment, but the journey that we have had has already started in 2011. And well, somewhat nicely saying, Sitefinity's maturity level for enterprise usage has evolved. Well, you can read it from there. I wasn't in the company at the time, but we did start with Sitefinity. First site launch was already in like middle of 2011, and we have been scaling it up since. And that means that there's the journey, and I highlighted some of the milestones, what we have done with the Sitefinity, and then I will be introducing the current condition, that how do we see the Sitefinity role in our current situation. We started with Sitefinity 4-point-something beta version, and upgraded to Sitefinity 4.3. And then we started releasing sites. We released like 14 corporate sites first, which didn't have that much, well, mostly some dynamic and static content, not that much like business logic written inside of those. And first business site, ytkoti.fi, which is the housing portal site for B2C in Finland, was released in end of 2012. I highlighted some of Sitefinity upgrades here. We have done few major of those, and well, I've been working with many CMSs with my career, and each of all of those have been like pissed me off at some point. That you can imagine that Sitefinity is no exception when we did these major upgrades. So there's like what we are looking or expecting that upgrades would, in the most optimized situation, they would be done continuously and like smoothly. So there were some API changes in middle of these, and then of course it's affecting a lot of the work. But I spotted some of the milestones here from our path that with the green color. So here you can see that we launched the YIT is there 2 times. I think we launched it in the beginning of 2013, and straight after that we scaled it. We have at the moment like 15 business sites, or 16 of them launched in several countries, like in CEE, Baltic countries, and in Russia. Then there was one big demerger when YIT was split in 2 companies, and Caverion was founded. And there are some green milestones here, which I would like to represent a bit more closely. Like, we launched the first responsive website on top of Sitefinity in the end of 2013, and then there was a change in the not change in the organization, but we started changing on the way we work, and we defined this kind of YIT Agile model in the beginning of 2014, and that's the most important milestone for me in the YIT. We started adopting new way of working. We founded this kind of continuous development process for the online, and now we have defined the different kind of layers on top of that. And I will represent a little bit of those and what role the Sitefinity currently plays on that scenarios. At the moment we are in Sitefinity 7 version, so we are still lacking the newest releases. We have launched some new business sites like international sales website and some major campaign-oriented sites. I'll show you a few of them also. And then there's this content-based development workflow founded also. I'll represent something about that also. At the moment, the current situation is that I pointed out the stabilization actions here that we are doing at the moment in the environments, because no matter what is the root cause, when the environments and the platform comes unstable, all the work that is done is going down to the drain. And that's something that we are doing at the moment, because the long history, we're still running a single Sitefinity installation, and we have almost 25 or more than 25 sites on top of that, and there is kind of a lot of legacy inside it also, still in our environment. Current condition is that not just the website. We have 24 live sites, or a bit more at the moment, 300 page templates, 25,000 plus pages, 500 home projects. These are like housing cooperative that includes like more than 14,000 apartments. And those are, of course, dynamic information coming from our CRM systems. We have more than 100,000 images, 8,000 plus documents, more than 100 backend users with different levels, 98 widget and more than 400 widget templates. Widget templates is something that creates the presentation layer of the widget. And of course we have CRM integrations, we have BizTalk in the middle, and a lot of other integrations, like smaller one, like client-side integrations, social media integrations. We are using Google APIs and stuff. And I'll show something how we actually work with these, or how these are actually created. No, there's not some images missing because I copied the slides, but never mind. Sitefinity, so this is my specific angle today. So the background is the need for agility and adaptivity. So we have recognized that we need more than one angle to that how we actually work. We have been looking the past year more closely into agile development practices. That's why we defined the YIT agile model in the end of 2013, and it was defined with business stakeholders, with technical stakeholders, with all of the parties doing online development in YIT. And the process itself it wasn't the most valuable thing. Oh, it was valuable thing, but the most valuable thing was that we defined their shared understanding, shared values, and shared principles. Those are something that has been remaining the same for the whole past year. The process has been changing almost weekly at some times. So so we acknowledged, and I'll show you something, what kind of levels of like layers we have on top of these processes, and what is Sitefinity's role at the moment on this. So the process keeps changing. The values and principles were the most important thing. How we do the online development today. We have recognized the different base layers and adopting the continuous improvement process on each of one of those layers. The maturity of organization is measured by the capability to improve and adapt. I read it from somewhere, and also I do agree. We are much more mature as an organization than a year ago to do online development together with all the participants and stakeholders. The thing that we have, the current condition is that we have identified like 4 different base layers, and that's You can see here that we are practicing more agile development practice inside here and more traditional model in here. We have support operations. There's support and change management process based on practices described on ITIL, and all of these layers are like interacting with each other continuously. We have identified platform development. Platform development process needs to maintain and develop the stability, and at the moment the Sitefinity environments and all that related. The development cycle in there is a bit lower, and the planning horizon is of course a little bigger. At the moment in this track we are looking at continuous upgrade, cloud services, improved development environments, and so on. Then we have identified 2 development scenarios. I'll go a bit more closely into this one. It's like a code-based development and the content-based development. And in code-based development process, we have like outsourced development team working in premise in YIT. And that's a very important thing to us, that we have a team in premise so we can be contacting them and interacting them on a daily basis. We are rehearsing Scrum iterations in that process, and the outcomes is new common functionalities what we are doing at the moment in Sitefinity, so that they can be commonly used in any culture in any our sites. Example of this, like apartment or the housing cooperative list that shows apartments. It's new content type built in Sitefinity, like housing cooperative and like apartments, and then it's common functionality and one common presentation layer. But what the business units actually need in different cultures, in different ways, they need different information inside those to be shown in different cultures and in different from different business needs. There we're having this content-based development workflow that we are actually helping the business units to modify the presentation layer, to configure those, take them into use, to utilize the development objectives also. And we are using Kanban as a workflow in that process. So content-based development process utilize the development objectives and work in close cooperation with all business stakeholders. And work is done mainly in the business units itself in here. So at the moment we have identified this kind of user roles in Sitefinity. We have, of course, developer role that can do almost, of course, anything. We have administrator role, which is mostly our YIT information service administrator. We have an online team that's including 7 persons at the moment. We have site manager role, which is like responsible for one website or one business area and is most advanced user of the business units. Then new role we are creating is designer role that can be in the business units also, that can actually modify, for example, page templates or make a new layout elements inside there. We have content creator role, which is at the moment we have like almost like 100 content creators within our organization. What we have identified that the content creators are in totally different level. Some of them are like in basic level, they can modify content, and some of them have like developer background and they're very, very good with doing, for example, they can do JavaScript applications inside the site, inside our pages, and they are doing that, but we need to kind of know that they are doing that. That's why we are spotting them and helping them to like centrally do things more. And that's of course there's a downside, and there needs to be a balance. The platform there's a lot of things that the content creators can do. It's quite complicated to create a role-based permissions. For example, if we have some content type or restrict some role, for example, don't let them to put JavaScript in the pages. It's complicated, and we are like evolving with it, but we need to keep balance on that. They can do stuff, but we don't want them to do that stuff. So it's a balance. I have some real examples here that what we have done with Sitefinity. Okay, I think I jumped a few slides there, which wasn't transferred in there also. But what I wanted to tell you more closely was these development scenarios. What are these? We have like I'm not going into any details, don't worry. But currently we have identified like 2 development scenarios. I tried to explain them a little bit just before the hassle there. So we have this code-based development. We have allocated developer team in-premise doing our development. We have a planning phase there. Then the development team's actually involvement point is there where the business case is ready, and there needs to be always like few bigger concepts cooking within the organization. So the planning horizon for the code-based development can be a little larger. So so we are rehearsing Scrum iterations there, and the development is done when the deployment is done. But the commitment points, it's in both teams, in the code-based development team and in the content-based development teams, which we have like on need basis multiple within the organization. So that we are actually going into the business units within this process and helping them to utilize the development objectives. It's like if we develop a new widget or new content type here, we don't want it to be unused in the most. We want to transfer the value for the end user. So we are helping the business units here, because as we saw in the previous presentations, it sounds very nice that just do it, just do a new content type, just click through it, but there's a twist always in there. There are twists that actually it's not that easy in the beginning. It's like very difficult for the content creators, and that's why we have this process, so that we have allocated resources to help the business unit stakeholders and the content creators to actually click through it or learn how to click through it. So these were the roles that I was representing, and therefore the examples. There are a few sites mentioned there. As I said, we have like 25 or 26 sites at the moment, but there are a few of them which are a little bit different from each other. There's like yati.koti.fi, which is an online housing portal and in main business to customer site within Finland. I mentioned 2 responsive design sites there, like tripla.fi, which was previously launched Pasila area development site. It's a big project that YIT is involved and building in Pasila. And in this case, for example, we were like looking into the Sitefinity responsive design controls, but what we ended up with was that we build our own grid system, and there's like compiled own SAS files there. That's like mixed combination of Sitefinity responsive design. We are using, for example, the menu navigation responsive design controls, but the grid system is coming from the customly built CSS files. And implementation of that framework in Sitefinity was a little bit difficult, because Sitefinity produces quite a lot of HTML. I don't know, the MVC model doesn't, it makes it more pure, but in our case it was still a struggle, but we did it and it became quite good. I'm very happy about the tripla site. Toimitilat business premises in yt.fi/toimitilat. It's in 2 languages, also it's the first responsive design business site that we created already almost a year ago. It was a very interesting and learning process. At that point, we had like Sitefinity 5.1, I think, and the responsive design controls were just introduced in the versions, and we learned how to utilize them and created this Toimitilat responsive site. And that was a good example of our at the moment how we then utilize this code-based development, content-based development processes. You have a code-based development process that produces or develops like a responsive framework within Sitefinity that we utilize for one site. We create one business site which has responsive navigation, it has responsive look and feel, layout elements are responsive, and this grid system is responsive. Then what we are doing in the content-based development, we don't anymore need developers on that. We are just repeating the concept, so that we are going in the business units asking what do you need, and they are telling us that we need this Pakila area site, we need this Lauttasaari area site, and it needs to be responsive. So from Lauttasaari we spent 1 day doing that site because we already did the work in here. So, but in the early days, when we introduced Sitefinity in our organization, we didn't have that content-based development workflow. We had only this code-based. We were like, let's do new development, a new presentation layer, but it like one time only. We recognized that we need to have a separate track to actually utilize those because the conditions are always changing around us. And one example of this, like in code-based development, we developed this selected departments functionality, like compare and select departments, and we introduced it, developed it for one site, and we are then using like this content-based development workflow to utilize it in different cultures, because in different cultures they want different information, for example, in these columns. So they want it to be looking a little bit differently or something, and we have a lot of that need for scalability. And our current biggest problem, I think, is that we're still running this one installation Sitefinity, which is quite highly customized from the early days for our needs. You have major stability issues and performance issues, and those all needs to be resolved. And that's like the path has been like, it has been a challenge sometimes. Important stuff for my point of view is shared understanding among all parties, like aligning the work, because this wasn't too easy. Because there is, of course, we can align the work in code-based development. You have a single team there working, and the product owner from the business side, and all the stakeholders and business owner. They are aligning the work quite well, and we are delivering them. Then we have a content-based development, which includes like hundreds of stakeholders and or marketing managers, or they want to utilize this stuff in some culture in different ways. We need to have some kind of shared understanding where we are going and how to align the work. Continuously understanding the business needs, it's like very important for us. I just traveled with the product owner to each of our CEE and Baltic countries, and saw the marketing managers and saw the content creators, and then face-to-face talked with them, and we recognized a lot of stuff from there that we have now in the roadmap. That's like very important. Sitefinity can be used efficiently for different development layers, and the productivity comes from there. We are not there yet, and that's for sure, but we have recognized the possibilities. Few concepts needs to be cooking all the time, like the planning horizon must be a little longer than our noses, so we can see a little bit more far ahead For example, this is something we have been looking now, like you've been representing like those developer tools, like more productive development. Model Builder might give us really good jump start for the developers to actually do stuff in Sitefinity. That is interesting. And of course, it allows us not to disturb a developer and just do it. But there's always the twist. We'll need to do it like focused. And when the environments are scaled very large, it's not that simple. Enterprise usage. The multi-site is already out there, but as I said, we are still using a single, quite highly customized Sitefinity installation. To be, yeah, and I'm like quite happy about this situation because it feels like, to be honest, it's felt like there's no one to reflect very much in Finland. We have been almost the only Sitefinity users in this scale. So it's like good to hear that you are acknowledging the needs for the enterprise users very seriously. User experience, we have validated the need for mobile approach, and the responsive design is something that we are looking into. And of course, we know the challenges there, and by experiment, we know also that stuff that developers, they don't want to use their own frameworks, and Twitter Bootstrap and grid systems are very. That's what we have used also. So that's a good thing. We validated that, for example, in business premises. I'm not going to say any figures on that, but what we did in the responsive design project for the business premises was that we threw more than 60% of the content. We just took it and threw it in the trash can, and then we thought all over the content from the mobile user's point of view. The content, rethinking the content is the most major mindset that needs to be changing. That this technology is not a challenge actually. it's more the content and how it's represented, because our eyes are so mind is so fixed on the desktop still. And the fact is that after that there's more leads. Focused content, validated, very valid content, and simple representation from the mobile user point of view. So yes, message to all. Together we can do it. How convenient it's a company current slogan also. But this is like the most important thing that from my point of view, that what is the Sitefinity role in our organization at the moment. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I think you realized very important points. I mean, because Sitefinity gives so much power to the user, and actually at the content level there are so many things that the content authors can do, and you have separated this actual development and the content development. But how did you end up in that? What was it because anything else didn't work, or was it after the responsive practice when you realized that you really need to think through the content, that there's no point of keeping the developers in here, or how did you come up with that?
I think it's a combination of failures and a combination of small improvement actions. We actually, when we are running this agile development model, the improvement actions are written inside the process, and that's a very good thing. We have now written the improvement placeholders for continuous improvement within each of those processes. And if I would represent all our process charts from the past year in here we would be sitting here until tomorrow, I think, because we have made so many improvements in the process level. But we have made them together with the business units and with the stakeholders. So that is the most valuable thing for me, at least, that we are able to improve, and then we recognize that something needs to be done. It's not enough that we develop a new feature commonly for the use for the platform. That's just not enough. The history is that we have had 25 separate platforms or something like that. So, and each culture has had different point of view of doing things, and suddenly we are giving them a common approach and common platform, and you need to do things like this. It didn't work out that way. We needed to have more adaptive and responsive way of working with all of the stakeholders.
I don't have a question, but I could easily comment on that, because I've witnessed the 4-year journey from a different point of view, and I really can second your opinion on that. I think that this is all part of the thing that individual countries used to have a huge freedom over their own site. They chose the CMS themselves. They bought the development on the CMS separately and were managing their own budgets. Everything was controlled by them. And then you sort of moved into this centrally controlled system, which was a way to sort of have a uniform company image all over Europe, and to have tools for YIS, for the information services, to better manage the different sites. And now you're sort of giving the benefits back to the end users in a way with this content-based development, so that they are more involved again with their own sites. And I see this as a very beautiful closure of the whole big process, and as a huge improvement within your processes as a company.
It's also trying to align the work much more better. Of course, we have strategies and high-level goals, and in this large of a organization, there's always triple amount of tasks that we can actually do or deliver. Then we need to have some common approaches that we align the work and outscope those tasks that does not need to be done, but we only want them to be done. Those are separate issues. What needs to be done and to achieve the long-term target conditions, and what actually we want to do.
I have another question if nobody else has. But how about investments? I mean, how much you don't need to talk about euros, but percentages. How much you're investing in the content part versus the development? Do you have rough level idea? I mean, both internal and external work.
Yeah, from the internal work, I cannot say much, because I can, of course, if we put it in the internal work, the content-based development, it's much more higher, because there's a lot of content creators. There's a lot of, we are trying to handle everything in that track. But if we think about it from the technical point of view, from the YAS point of view, where we are it's more of course in the code-based development we are at the moment. And of course there's the platform development and maintenance and support tracks also. But we have acknowledged, and we are not trying to force, for example, the platform development, which needs to be very focused and it's the basic service that needs to be working. So we have acknowledged, Gartner at some point represented this base layered application architecture, so that the base layered idea that there's need for traditional way of working, and there's need to be more agile. And we have acknowledged that, for example, the platform development, it's better to go forward more traditional way. And when we are, for example, changing user experiences, we need to be very fast and very agile on that, because the conditions around us are changing so fast. forgot to put my contacts in here, but we can of course network with me with the Twitter or LinkedIn. I'll be there.
Yeah, we'll make sure that all the contact information will be shared after the event, and also all the presentation, as said, will be available after the event as well. Thanks, Mikko.